This wasn't part of the
He
agreement.
pushed the bakery door open with more force than he intended, the bell above it ringing too loudly as rainwater slid off his tailored coat onto the tiled floor. Jae-hoon Park stopped mid-step. His breath caught. Behind the counter, a woman looked up from a notebook. Her hand froze in the air. For a split second, neither of them moved, as if the world had forgotten how to continue. "Mira," Jae-hoon said without realizing he had spoken. The notebook slipped from her fingers and hit the counter with a dull thud. Her hair was shorter. Her face thinner. But there was no mistaking her. Not after 5 years. Not after everything. "Sir," she said quickly, voice tight, professional, guarded. "If you're here to place an order, please wait a moment." Jae-hoon didn't move. His briefcase slid from his hand and hit the floor. "I didn't know," he said hoarsely. "I didn't know you were." "Please," Mira interrupted, eyes flicking toward the few customers seated near the window. "You need to lower your voice." The bakery smelled of sugar and warm bread. Cream-colored walls were lined with framed photos of smiling couples holding cakes. It felt unbearably small to Jae-hoon, like the walls were closing in on him. "I was told this place does custom wedding cakes," he said, forcing the words out, clinging to routine. "Oh, I'm getting married." Something flickered across Myra's face. "Babe." Then control snapped back into place. "Congratulations," she said flatly. "What size?" Before he could answer, a small voice piped up from behind the counter. "Mom?" A little girl appeared, clutching Myra's leg. She couldn't have been more than 4. Big eyes. Dark lashes. A shy tilt of the head. Jae-hoon felt the air leave his lungs. The girl stared at him, curious, unafraid. Mira stiffened instantly. "Yuna, go back to the playroom," she said, more sharply than before. "Now." "But..." "Yuna," she repeated, fear trembling beneath the firmness. The child frowned but obeyed, disappearing through a half-open door at the back. Jae-hoon's heart hammered so loudly he was sure everyone could hear it. "That's my daughter," he said, not as a question. Myra's hands curled into fists. "You need to leave." "Is she mine?" His voice cracked. "Mira, tell me the truth." She leaned forward, eyes blazing. "You don't get to walk in here and demand anything." "I deserve to know if I have a child," he whispered. "You deserve nothing," she shot back. "Not after what you did." A customer cleared their throat awkwardly. Mira straightened, forcing a smile. "I'll be with you shortly," she said, then turned back to Jae-hoon. "Go. Now. You're making a scene." "I won't," he said quietly. "Not until you answer me." Her jaw tightened. "You want answers? Fine. But not here." "When?" he asked. 6:30, she said. Back in trance. Alone. No assistance. No security. "If I see even one black car, I walk away." "I'll be there," he said immediately. Mira hesitated, then nodded once. "Good. Now leave." Jae-hoon picked up his briefcase with shaking hands and turned toward the door. As he reached for the handle, he glanced back. "She looks like you," he said softly. Mira didn't respond. Outside, the rain had slowed to a drizzle. Jae-hoon leaned against his car, chest heaving, memories crashing into him all at once. The accusations. The board meetings. His mother's calm voice telling him Mira was a liability. The documents he never questioned. He slid into the driver's seat and stared at the steering wheel. "My God," he whispered. "I have a daughter." His phone buzzed. Choi Se-rin's name flashed on the screen. "Did you order the cake?" she asked cheerfully. "The planner needs confirmation." Jae-hoon closed his eyes. "I'm running late." There was a pause. "You sound strange. Is everything all right?" "No," he said. "But I will be." He hung up before she could respond. At 6:25, Jae-hoon stood behind the bakery, hands empty, no suit jacket, no driver in sight. The back door opened slowly. Mira stepped out. "You came alone?" she said. "I promised," he replied. She studied him for a long moment, then gestured for him to follow her inside. The back room was small. Half storage, half playroom. Toys lined one wall. Tiny shoes by the door. "You can't see her tonight," Mira said immediately. "This is about us." "I understand," Jae-hoon said. "Tell me." She took a deep breath. "I found out I was pregnant 3 days after the divorce papers were signed." The words hit him like a blow. "What?" he whispered. "Your mother already knew," she continued. "She told me if I said a word, she'd destroy the child's future before it began." "That's impossible," he said, standing. "She wouldn't." "She did," Mira snapped. "She forged evidence. Accused me of leaking data. Threatened prison." "You believed her?" Jae-hoon's throat tightened. "I was scared." "So was I," she said, tears finally spilling. "But I still protected her." "Alone." Silence filled the room. "I'm engaged," he said weakly. "I know," Mira replied. "That's why this changes nothing." "It changes everything," he said. "I want to be in her life." Mira wiped her face. "Then understand this. You don't get to swoop in. You don't get to confuse her. If you hurt her." "I won't," he said fiercely. "You already did," she replied softly. He sank into a chair, hands covering his face. "I failed you," he said. "But I won't fail her." Mira looked at him, guarded but listening. Outside, the bakery lights dimmed as night settled in. Inside that small room, Jae-hoon Park faced the truth he had run from for 5 years, and knew there was no turning back. Mira crossed her arms, leaning against the shelf of baking supplies like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "You say you won't fail her," she said quietly. "But words are easy. They always were." Jae-hoon looked up. "Then tell me what to do." She let out a short, humorless laugh. "That's the problem. For years you let other people tell you what to do. You didn't deny it." "I know." Silence stretched between them, thick and uncomfortable. "Do you know what it was like?" Mira continued, her voice gaining strength. "Waking up every day wondering if someone would knock on my door with papers. Wondering if your mother would follow through on her threats. Wondering how I'd explain to my child why her father didn't want her." "I never said I didn't want her," Jae-hoon said urgently. "You never said you did," she shot back. The words landed harder than any accusation. He stood slowly. "I should have fought. I should have questioned everything. Instead, I chose the company. I chose the image. And I let them erase you." Mira's eyes shimmered, but she didn't look away. "You didn't just erase me. You erased us." A small sound came from the other side of the wall. A child humming. Mira stiffened. "She's still awake." "I don't want to disrupt her," Jae-hoon said quickly. I want to know her. Even from a distance." Mira studied him. "Distance is all I can promise for now." "I'll take it," he said without hesitation. She hesitated. "Tomorrow morning she has a swimming lesson at the community center. You can come. Sit far back. No introductions. Just observe." His chest tightened. "Thank you." "This is not forgiveness," she warned. "It's a test." "I understand," he said. "I'll earn it." His phone buzzed again. This time he didn't ignore it. His mother's name glared up at him. Mira noticed. "Her?" "Yes," he admitted. "Don't answer," she said instantly. "Not here." He declined the call, heart pounding. "She knows something's wrong." "She always does," Mira replied. "Control freaks usually do." Jae-hoon swallowed. "She threatened you?" "Directly," Mira said. "She told me a child with my background would never survive in your world. That she'd make sure of it." His hand shook. "I'll fix this." "You can't undo the past," Mira said. "You can only decide what kind of man you'll be now." Another call came in. Then another. Jae-hoon silenced his phone completely. "I'm done running." Mira looked at him, searching. "You'll lose things." "I already have," he replied. This time I choose to lose the right ones. When he finally left the bakery, the city lights felt harsher than usual. He sat in his car for a long time before driving away, replaying every word. At home, the penthouse was quiet. Too quiet. Choi Se-rin was sitting on the couch, tablet in hand. She looked up as he entered. "You missed the tasting." "I know," he said. She studied his face. "Something happened." "Yes," he replied. She waited. "I can't go through with the wedding," he said calmly. Her tablet slipped from her lap. "What? There's a child?" he continued. "My child." Color drained from her face. "You're joking." "I'm not," he said. "And I won't lie to you." She stood abruptly. "This merger, this wedding, it's bigger than us." "I know," he said. "That's why I'm stepping away." "You're destroying everything," she whispered. "No," he said. "I'm finally choosing something real." She stared at him, hurt and angry. "You never loved me." He didn't answer. He didn't need to. The next morning, the boardroom buzzed with tension. Jae-hoon arrived early, documents under his arm, jaw set. Executives whispered as he entered. "We need to discuss your absence," one of them began. "We need to discuss the truth," Jae-hoon replied, laying the files on the table. 5 years ago, evidence was fabricated to remove my wife." Murmurs rippled. "This is serious," another said. "So were the lies," Jae-hoon responded. "And I won't protect them anymore." His mother entered then, expression icy. "You're making a mistake." "No," he said, meeting her gaze. "You did." Later that afternoon, he stood at the edge of the community pool, dressed simply, hands clasped behind his back. Children splashed and laughed. Yuna sat on the edge, feet in the water, kicking gently. Mira knelt beside her, speaking softly. Jae-hoon's heart clenched. Mira glanced back and caught his eye. She gave a small nod. Yuna laughed as she splashed, unaware that the man watching her was fighting the urge to cry. For the first time in years, Jae-hoon felt fear and hope at the same time. Jae-hoon stayed where he was, exactly as promised. He didn't step closer. He didn't wave. He simply watched. Yuna laughed when the instructor lifted her gently into the water. The sound hit him harder than any boardroom confrontation ever had. It wasn't loud, but it was pure, unburdened. And it shattered something inside him. Mira glanced back again, just briefly, as if checking whether he was still there. When she saw him, still standing quietly by the wall, she looked away, but not before he noticed her shoulders relax just a little. After the lesson ended, parents gathered towels and bags. Children ran past, dripping water across the tiles. Mira helped Yuna into a hoodie, drying her hair carefully. "Mom," Yuna said, peering past her, "who's that man?" Mira froze. Jae-hoon felt his heart leap into his throat. Mira followed Yuna's gaze. For a long second she said nothing. Then she took a breath. "That's someone important." Yuna tilted her head. "Is he my dad?" The question was simple. Innocent. Devastating. Jae-hoon stopped breathing. Mira swallowed. She looked at Jae-hoon, then back at her daughter. "Yes," she said softly. "He is." Yuna blinked. She studied him openly now, without fear. "Why doesn't he come here?" Mira knelt to her level. "Because sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. Big ones." Yuna thought about that. Then she shrugged. "Can he say hi?" Mira hesitated, then stood and looked at Jae-hoon. Her eyes asked a question. He nodded once. Slowly, carefully, he walked toward them. Every step felt like walking through glass. "Hi," he said, crouching slightly so he wouldn't loom. "I'm Jae-hoon." Yuna stared at him. "You're tall." He smiled despite the tears burning his eyes. "I get that a lot." She considered him for another second, then held out her hand. "I'm Yuna." He took her hand gently, like it was made of something fragile and sacred. "I know." She frowned. "You know?" "Yes," he said. "I've wanted to meet you for a very long time." She seemed satisfied with that answer. Do you swim? Not very well, he admitted. She giggled. I can teach you. Something inside him broke open. I'd like that. Mira watched closely, every muscle tense, ready to intervene. But Jae-hoon didn't overstep. He didn't hug. He didn't make promises. He just listened as Yoona talked about her class, her favorite float, how she was almost brave enough to put her face under the water. When it was time to leave, Mira cleared her throat. Yoona, say goodbye. Bye, Yoona said cheerfully. Come again. I will, Jae-hoon said. If your mom says it's okay. Yoona nodded seriously. Okay. As they walked away, Jae-hoon stayed behind, hands shaking. Mira returned a few minutes later, alone. She handled that well, she said quietly. She's incredible, he replied. Mira studied him. Don't let this make you reckless. I won't, he said. I'll be patient. You'll need to be, she said. Because the storm hasn't even started yet. She was right. By evening, news alerts flooded his phone. Boardroom leaks. Cancelled wedding rumors. Stock analysts speculating wildly. His mother called again. This time he answered. You've humiliated this family, she said coldly. You humiliated yourself, Jae-hoon replied. I just stopped covering for it. You think that woman and her child are worth destroying everything we built? Yes, he said without hesitation. You're choosing weakness, she snapped. No, he said. I'm choosing responsibility. Silence crackled over the line. If you go public, she said slowly, I will make sure neither of them ever have peace. Jae-hoon's voice dropped. If you touch them, I will expose everything. Every forged document. Every bribe. Every lie. I already have the files. She inhaled sharply. You wouldn't. I already did, he said. The investigation starts tomorrow. He ended the call. The next weeks were brutal. Press conferences. Shareholder panic. Relentless headlines. His mother resigned for health reasons. The board issued apologies that sounded rehearsed and hollow. Through it all, Jae-hoon kept his distance from Mira and Yoona, showing up only when invited. Swimming lessons. Short walks. Ice cream on a bench where no one recognized him. He learned Yoona was allergic to shellfish. That she loved dragons. That she hated sleeping without the light on. And slowly Mira watched him prove something, not with words but with consistency. One evening, as they sat on a bench watching Yoona chase pigeons, Mira spoke without looking at him. She asked me if you'd be there for her birthday. Jae-hoon's chest tightened. I will be. If you want me there. Mira nodded. You can come. But don't make it about you. I won't, he promised. She finally looked at him. You know this doesn't mean we're getting back together. I know, he said. This is about her. Not us. A small smile touched her lips. Good. Yoona ran back to them breathless. Mom? Dad? Look. The word hung in the air. Jae-hoon didn't correct her. Mira didn't either. And for the first time in a long time, the future didn't feel like something to fear. It felt like something to earn. Jae-hoon heard the word echo in his chest long after Yoona ran off again, laughing as she chased a pigeon that stubbornly refused to fly away. Dad. He didn't say it out loud. He didn't dare. He just sat there, hands folded, breathing carefully like the moment might shatter if he moved too fast. Mira watched him from the corner of her eye. She saw the way his shoulders stiffened, the way emotion flickered across his face before he forced it back under control. She doesn't fully understand what it means yet, Mira said quietly. Children use words easily. I know, Jae-hoon replied. I won't take advantage of that. That's good, she said. Because if you confuse her. I won't, he said firmly. Even if it costs me everything else. Mira studied him for a long moment, then nodded once. We'll see. The birthday party was small. No balloons shaped like cartoon characters. No expensive entertainers. Just a park, a homemade cake and a handful of children from Yuna's class. Jae-hoon arrived early carrying a simple gift bag. Inside was a children's book about a tiny dragon who learned how to breathe fire slowly, one step at a time. He handed it to Mira first. "If this is too much." "It's fine," she said, peeking inside. "She'll like this." When Yuna spotted him, she waved enthusiastically. "You came." "I promised," he said. She grabbed his hand without hesitation and pulled him toward the table. "You can sit here. Mom said it's okay." Mira met his eyes across the table and gave a small nod. For the next 2 hours, Jae-hoon was just another adult at a children's party. He poured juice, tied balloons, laughed at jokes that didn't make sense. When Yuna tripped and scraped her knee, she ran to Mira first, but she glanced back at him, checking if he was still there. He was. Later, as the sun dipped low, Yuna opened his gift. She flipped through the pages, eyes wide. "This dragon is scared," she said seriously. "So was I," Jae-hoon replied without thinking. She looked up. "What happened?" "He learned that being scared doesn't mean you're weak," Jae-hoon said. "It just means you care." She nodded, satisfied, then hugged the book to her chest. Mira watched the exchange, something easing in her expression. That night, after Yuna fell asleep, Mira and Jae-hoon stood outside the apartment building. "You handled today well," Mira admitted. "I followed your rules," he said. She hesitated. "The media is circling." "I know. They'll come for me eventually," she said. "They won't touch you," Jae-hoon said. "Not while I'm breathing." Mira exhaled slowly. "You've changed." "I had to," he said. "Or I would have lost her forever." She looked up at him. "And what about you? What do you lose now?" He thought about the penthouse he no longer used. The title that meant less each day. The mother who no longer called. "I lose the man I pretended to be," he said. "And I'm okay with that." Weeks passed. The investigation concluded. Public apologies were issued. His mother disappeared from public life. Jae-hoon stepped down as CEO, appointing an interim successor. When reporters asked why, he answered simply, "Because being present matters more than being powerful." The internet exploded. Some praised him. Others mocked him. He didn't read the comments. Instead, he learned how to braid hair, badly. He learned which bedtime stories Yuna liked repeated and which ones scared her. He learned that Mira took her coffee black when she was exhausted and sweet when she was sad. One evening, as they walked home from the bakery together, Yuna skipped ahead. "Can we all have ice cream?" she asked. Mira smiled. "Just this once." They sat on a bench, 3 cones melting too fast. Yuna licked her ice cream and sighed happily. "I like it when you're here." Jae-hoon's throat tightened. "I like being here." She leaned against him, sticky hands and all. Mira watched them, eyes soft but cautious. Later that night, after Yuna slept, Mira spoke quietly. "I don't know what the future looks like," she said. "I'm still angry. I still remember everything." "I don't expect forgiveness," Jae-hoon replied. "Only the chance to be better." She nodded. "Then keep choosing that. Every day." He did. And if you've stayed with this story till now, take a moment, because stories like this remind us that redemption isn't loud, it's consistent. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps bring more powerful stories like this to life. Years later, when Yuna stood on a school stage for her first recital, Jae-hoon sat in the front row, clapping too loudly, eyes wet. Mira sat beside him. Not as his wife, but as family. And for the first time in his life, Jae-hoon Park knew exactly what success felt like.